I believe we will go back to horses soon. The automotive is only a temporary appearance. What sounds incredibly stupid today was a statement by King Wilhelm II just about 100 years ago. Today we hear similar things on a different revolution that is going on. It's not about cars and horses, it's about data and algorithms. And we have, for instance, our Prime Minister saying, this Internet is Neuland für alle von uns, which means something like this Internet is something none of us really get so far. So this is, kind of the one extreme, and now we're going to shift to the other extreme of the frontier of what's actually possible to do with data and technology today. And Kreditech is one example, but don't worry, I'm not going to be talking about Kreditech too long. I'm only going to use it as an example for what's actually going on out there. So Kreditech is an attempt to replace what has been said earlier by Deutsche Bank, to replace the entire set of banking processes, back-end decisions that are taken by algorithms and data. So what that means is that we're able by now, 3 years, it's a 3-year-old company that has raised 290 million in venture debt and other ways of financing, and by now is employing over 200 people in 10 countries. Is the ability to score individuals worldwide in a matter of seconds without any credit bureau data. So from looking into social media, e-commerce, locations, the way somebody expresses himself in emails, all these little data points tell you a lot on how creditworthy an individual is, what his pricing should be, what product he's interested in, etc. So this is called machine learning, and basically what it is, it's not based on hypotheses, it's not on, I believe this is a credit-worthy customer, it's simply looking in the data and looking in what actually makes a customer creditworthiness, and then applying that in a fully automated algorithm that makes sure that costs are low and scalability is very high, and actually makes you capable of processing all that data. So jumping back to the more kind of general German paradigm on how data is perceived, it's something that, of course, worries us, but it's actually a problem that is much bigger than Kreditech, and that is a lot of people out there, including politicians, old companies, are not understanding or not liking what's going on out there. And this is really, we're not talking about, about a new smartphone or people doing something on Facebook. This is really the biggest revolution since the invention of machines and oil, and that is data fueling algorithms, fueling decisions. And that, is something that is perceived as either chance in some countries or some industries, and it's perceived as a big threat and something that needs to be fought and cracked down, and, things like we need to smash Google or courts ruling over it is a privacy violation if you put a Facebook like button on your webpage. That tells you something about the paradigm and the way that data and technology and innovation is perceived. So, unfortunately, technology at the end of the day is what separates us from the animal, and it's not going to stop because some politicians or companies don't like it or don't understand it. It simply means that it's going to find other channels, and it will happen in other places or other industries, or companies failing to adapt or understand this technology might not be around in a decade from now. And just to kind of illustrate you the scope of this revolution. So when we think about e-commerce companies, as Zalando and even Amazon, for the part of not the recommendation but the actual e-commerce part, it's not too different to in Germany we had this Quelle or Otto catalog, which is what my parents used to order their stuff with. It's you choose something and then you say, I want this whatever furniture or this clothes, and then it gets shipped to you. Now the internet and e-commerce hasn't really done much besides digitalizing the order, but the majority of the value creation is still shipping boxes, people putting stuff in boxes, customers sending back their boxes. So the degree of digitalization in that supply chain is very limited, and that is the same for other business models. It's pretty much information that is being exchanged over the internet. What we're going to see in the future from now is decisions will be replaced, and this is going to be a different scale to what we've seen today. So if you think, and these are only the starting companies, if you think about a Spotify that tells you this is a song you should listen to, that's basically replacing the guy in a CD store telling you what other music you might like. A Tinder is basically telling you who you should date. That is basically replacing kind of a, I don't know what you call this, coupling agency. And Amazon knows better what you're going to order next than yourself might know. And Kreditech is going to try to bring this to the banking industry by basically taking the decision of who should get a credit digital. Now we're going to see, this is only the starting point. What I'm saying here is that any decision that is based on structural data will be replaced by algorithms and machine learning or other concepts. So anything from insurances. If you think about a car insurance would ask you, how old are you, where do you live, and what car do you drive? These three parameters go into setting your car insurance price. It's incredibly stupid. If you, fill out a kind of a questionnaire for your private health company, they would ask you stuff like, do you smoke, do you work out, blah, blah, blah. All this is incredibly stupid data and eventually leading to stupid decisions. Now this is obviously going to go away and be fueled by data and algorithms. And if you think about it, so the 20th century was about replacing kind of, muscles by machines. It's not people that had to go do the hard work, it was now machines and kind of engines that took over this. And that has brought us to a industrial nation in Germany. Now, what's happening in the 21st century is that the brain gets replaced by algorithms and data. Now, if you think about what someone can do with his muscles as compared to his brain and his thoughts and his power of deciding things, this will obviously going to have a much bigger impact than replacing physical power by machines. And if any machine needs oil just in the way like any algorithm needs data. So that means the better the oil or the better the data, the better the decision will be eventually. And it also means that, and this is something that kind of we live and execute every day, that in the future it's going to be about who has access to what data, which means basically who owns the oil platform and who kind of the pipeline and the refining. And it also means who has the better engine, who has the better algorithm turning that data into value or decisions. So these are going to be the two factors that are going to be decisive for the future. And data, unlike oil, is not something that we're going to run out of at any point. It's rather the opposite. We create more data every day. People, use the internet to a degree they haven't used it 5 years ago. In 5 years, they will use it even more excessively. We're going to see health wearables. The amount of data is going to grow not linearly, but exponentially. And that means we're going to see smarter and smarter decisions over time and more algorithms taking over. And here's the second fact. Machines don't learn, and neither does an e-commerce company. A Zalando doesn't get smarter with every order. It simply means, you generate some economies of scale and you can push down your prices. An algorithm, especially if it's a machine learning one, it's a very different concept because it gets smarter with every single outcome of, in our case, it's a default or a repaid loan. The algorithm identifies a new pattern, says, okay, next time my decision is going to be a different one. This leads to the fact that machines and algorithms are going to scale very differently. So an algorithm will become more and more powerful with each and every bit of data that it has seen. And the last point is, and that's a point I bring up very often when I talk to politicians, because again, politicians see data as something that is threatful, that is evil, that makes the customer predictable or the citizen. But it's not. Data is like money. It can be applied for any cause. It can be a good cause, a bad cause, a smart cause, and an evil cause. And just to give you some examples here. And by the way, that's just like a machine. A machine can produce weapons or a machine can produce school books, right? It really depends on what you train the machine to do. Now for an algorithm, you could build an algorithm to, for instance, for unemployed people to find a new job. And a better job and doing so faster, other than kind of a human looking at this and saying, oh, maybe you try this and that as a new job. That would be a good cause. Now, if the Mexican mafia said, we're going to hire some data scientists and figure out how we can bring our drugs over to the, over the US border. You can also build an algorithm for that, but that's obviously a rather stupid or evil cause. What I'm saying is it's not the data that is good or evil, it's the people behind. And this is why there's no point in forbidding data. It's making sure that people use data for the right causes and use it for smart causes. And that's it. Thank you very much.